Hello, everyone. Welcome to Command Stack. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Garrett.
and Ken and John may join us later, but right now we just wanted to get online and start talking about the exciting big drop that we had. There are from AMG today released changes to about 100, made over 100 changes to the game through points changes and errata of different cards. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to get right into it because we're still digesting a lot of these changes. It is massive. It's going to take a year for it all to settle out, but we're doing it today, hours after it's come out. So we're going to break this into parts because it is such a massive change. And so we're going to start with CIS.
Yeah. And because we're starting CIS because they got the only new last rapid reinforcement. We'll save that though. Yeah, there's been so many changes. I did a quick document earlier, and so many little cards have had total text changes that I missed, like rapid launch bays. Completely different how you use it now. But that's for a different podcast. CIS, like you said, and to get that started, the biggest thing I want to talk about first is Admiral Trench has reduced by 4 points. So he was 36 and now he's 32. Now that doesn't seem like a lot, but when we start going through the other monumental point decreases in CIS, this is massive. I mean, some of these CIS lists gained like 30 points.
Yeah, maybe we should just try to do big picture first because I think you're right. Like, if you were a CIS person running your, a list at 395, there's a very decent chance it could be 375 right now.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have a single, all these changes that we're going to go through, all buffs essentially, all points decreases. They didn't have anything go up. And I think that kind of shows you at least what AMG thought about the state of CIS. They needed help, right?
Yeah. And they didn't even get nerfed really by the LTT change because they still have ships with Bombard as an option, which is another change. I don't know. It's so hard to talk about generic changes with CISs, but
we'll do a separate episode of generic changes. But
yeah, let's keep going. Trench down 4 points. All right. First off, next thing is an Asajj Ventress change. This is the third time she's changed.
Wait. We got to talk about Trench.
Okay.
I think when we ranked admirals, I think we put him in D tier, but
D or C, yeah.
Yeah. Now at 32 points, we know that dial add admirals are really good. Braun, Bale, Trench, but he was just too expensive, and I think this could be the age of Trench coming up.
Right. It's the holistic changes we're going to go through here of giving Trench an extra 20 points to finish his fleet builds. Because if any double dial commander wants to squadron, right? And so now you've got room.
Yep.
But yeah.
Trench, all right, so Asajj.
This is big. Okay, Asajj Ventress. Now, this is the third time she's changed, okay? So now we're down to a 2-point Asajj card. It's still a really competitive slot. I don't know if this really raises her value. She was 4 points, now 2 points. She still has got to compete with Tykes, Rune Hako, Watambor, Shu Mai. It's just,
but it's in the range now where it doesn't hurt, right?
Right.
It's like you got 2 points. It's not going to hurt. If you have an open slot, why not take her?
Yeah. Maybe in a TF list, you can put this on one of the double officer slot hard cells and utilize some of those extra raid tokens to give yourself command tokens. 2 points is cheap, though. Super cheap.
Yep. Super cheap.
All right.
Next, big one here.
Next on the list, the illustrious Count Dooku has went down from 30 points to 27 points. No other changes. His text remains the same. What do you think?
Traditionally, the best performing admiral at Worlds, always, or CIS that is, always does well. I think, I think you could kind of needed a points drop. So I'm happy with it. This is CIS is just all of these things that we've seen so far are just a ton of points drops. So they're just going to have all these, things to buy with. It could be a Gazanti that you could buy, with all the extra space that you have. So
4
I think it's
extra
good.
vultures.
Yeah, and I never, I think if you for Dooku people, if you come up against a fleet that can counter Dooku, that has lots of comms net, a lot of token shenanigans to kind of defeat your raid, it's good that it's just a little bit cheaper now.
Right.
I don't know.
He's still good. He's still an a farming objective-based admiral. But it's just 3 points, 3 more points to add somewhere to increase the effectiveness of the overall Dooku fleet. All right, next guy. We're moving into titles. I have... Okay, this one's big. It is Invisible Hand.
Thank you.
An Invisible
Thank
Hand.
you.
All right, so lots of stuff happened here. First off, it went down a point. Great, another point. Added to the stack. So historically, for like 5 years now, I guess it's only been 4 years, this card has been like impossible to use because it worked as a deployment donut. You had to put your squadrons between 2 and 3.
2 and 4, right?
2 and 4, something like that. It was a donut.
So yeah,
there was
so
no
here I have
flexibility.
this. It had the most ridiculous rules as written, kind of interpretation where it was like everyone knew what we were trying to do, and we were just like, no. So basically, what it was, all of your squadrons had to be within the range 3 band. So that's why Garrett calls it the donut. You could only put it here. You couldn't put it within, the range 1. You couldn't put it in 2. Because of the keyword within, it had to be within only the 3. So it's like you had a little bitty band that all your squadrons just kind of danced around, and it just made it very difficult to use.
Yeah. So anyways, now you can deploy squadrons in a way that makes sense, in a flexible way. You can combine this with rapid launch bays and really do some interesting things. And of course, you could put... What?
This could be devastating. It is, because it was always a good ability, right? It was adding the die, getting to, move your squadrons around with that extra die. Always a super good ability. Now it's usable, and this is like unlocking a ship, like unlocking an archetype, which is such a cool thing about this update, that people are going to start running Invisible Hand Providences. And that's super cool.
Like the biggest problem was because of the donut. You couldn't put the fighters where they needed to be to take advantage of the AI increase by 1, and now you can. That's gonna be interesting to see. A lot less invincible use and much more invisible hand use, especially Grievous. Moving on. Next is Lucid Voice, another Providence title. It went down from 6 points to 4 points, more point gains. I'm sorry, it went down from 8 points to 6 points, 8 points to 6 points. 8 points was a lot for this ability. It's treat your rear hull zone's printed battery armament as 3 grid dice, which is like the only card in the game that lets you change the salvo, essentially, outside of flat guns. But change your printed armament. So 2 point gain. Just another card you can use now. It's just these little point gains just make things possible.
We've already seen it now. Like, maybe you were running a Naked Providence, but now you're running Trench with that. You're running, Asajj for some reason, and you've saved yourself 6 points already. You have a free, basically, Lucid Voice to toss on there at no real cost to your fleet. So the CIS fleets are getting, you're going to see this as we keep going through these updates, they're getting more lethal. They're getting more stuff to put in them, which I think is great, because they kind of needed that. Lucid Voices as a title is fine. If you have a way to, make those reds pay, it can be really devastating.
Yeah, it's still a competitive slot.
Yeah. It's not something you want to shoot, a CR90, let's say, wants to necessarily shoot at long range.
Right. because now they got to deal with 3. And if you can dice fix, because the CIS has a really good IF platform. To
Probably run an IF
firepower.
somewhere. Right.
Yeah. All right, our next one, we're getting into the officer territory here. So this was really exciting, especially Simon up in Canada is thrilled for this. Our Sand Hill update. Oh my gosh, this is great. When a friendly ship at distance 1 to 5 revolves a squadron command, you may discard 1 squad token from this card. If you do, that friendly ship may activate 1 additional squadron during that command, and it comes with 2 squad tokens. This is awesome. This makes it so CIS Gazantes can activate 4 squadrons with flight controllers, which is absolutely wild. Combo Sandhill with Trench and activate your CIS Gazanti with your squad token. You're activating 3 plus 1 from Sandhill for 4, and you get to navigate on the Gazanti itself while you're doing it. This is so cool.
Is it still 3 points?
Yeah, it's still 3 points.
Okay.
This is if any CIS squadron list, find a place for this card now. Being able to activate 1 extra squadron during an alpha strike is huge.
It's about versatility, right? Like you're just becoming a more versatile faction, not necessarily locked into the same kind of archetypes that you're doing.
Right.
And I think another theme kind of that we'll see throughout this update is the theme of kind of taking stuff that is clearly binder fodder. No one was using Sandhill. It was unusable, right? Now we're going to make it interesting, and we're going to you pick a little design space to throw that card in. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, especially where CIS can take 2 officers on hard sell. It opens up so many possibilities. And now that card's usable. Oh my gosh. Next, we're moving into squadrons. More point decreases. DFS 311. This is the Intel Vulture Ace. Brace Scatter. He's going from 18 points down to 16 points. These are just Ollie's bargain basement prices.
Not necessarily like an incredible ace ability, but getting cheaper. Getting maybe instead of taking 2 vultures, you're going to take DFS 311 now with the points.
A 16-point Brace Scatter Ace it's
good.
That's 2 rounds of shooting at something to kill it now, right? Great economy. All right, moving down. The other one of the CIS Flak RFOC prototypes, they have gone from 19 points down to 18 points. This was already an A tier CIS squadron. All right, it's the one that when you end its activation distance 1, you suffer damage, and it got cheaper, 19 to 18 points.
This is the one that really surprised me because it was already really good, already a really good ability, and now you're making it 1 point cheaper. It'd be like making Shara 16 points, right? Or, Halloran 15 points. It just feels really good. I think you're going to see a lot of this.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're making room in these squad wall points because we got one more squad we got to bring. Anyways, moving on. We're going to talk about...
Are we holding that one for the last?
That's the last one. Okay. All right, we're moving into ships. So the CIS got a huge buff again. These are just wild. Let me scroll down here. That's the Empire one. All right, the Sea Rock, the Gazantes. So these went from 27 points down to 24 points. These were already good because of the fact that CIS loves to put flight controllers on these. But now they're only 24 points, which puts them much more in line with like that. The Rebel GR75 and the Empire's carrier ones.
You are going to be seeing a lot more double Gazanti fleets with CIS, trying to get activation advantage for Patriot's Fist or for your big Alpha Strike with your Providence carrier or something like that. CIS players have forever, time immemorial, said we don't have, we are at an activation disadvantage. This is going to help. And with those points changes, you're basically going to get, a lot of your fleets a free Gazanti. throw in there. So you're going to start seeing routinely 5, 6 CIS activation fleets.
Yeah, I mean, this is another boost to TF1726 because now it's a cheaper platform to throw even more black dice. Next one, and this one surprised me. This one shocked me. Hard sell battle refits went down from 52 points to 50 points. These were already good. Specifically with TF, with the the B2 rocket troopers, and
now with the LTT nerf, does that mean that you can't take LTT on these things?
You can still take it, but you can't re-roll reds with it. But you can still add dice to attack a squadron. It's not.
You're probably not taking. Yeah, you're probably not taking LTT on these anymore, which I think is part of the price. Adjustment, and
But on a hard sell, you don't need LTTs. You just need dual turbolit turrets.
Yep.
And those also went down.
Right. If you're running a TF fleet and you've got your 3 black dice with the Confire and your 3 red dice, you get IF for 50 points is a lot of firepower.
Yeah, chucking 6 dice with dice fixing. All right, moving on. Now these, the next two, I don't know why, but both
they were already cheap. I felt like
both the Rebel Providences went down. The carrier went from 105 points to 102 points, so that's 3 points. Not huge. I guess it brings it more in line with I guess the ISDs and the Rebel Larges. But the fact that you could put double defensive on the carrier with the title was huge. But now they're 3 points cheaper. But the big surprise here is the Providence Dreadnought went from 105 points down 8 points to 97.
Now I think everyone kind of came to the conclusion the carrier was the better, and so you needed to find a way. You need to find a way for people to take this ship, and a 5-point difference, because it doesn't have your defensive retrofit slot, right? Now you can add Invincible basically for free, right?
Yep.
And you get your defensive retrofit slot, and it's just as good as the carrier. I think that's what's going on here. And then, I love the Dreadnought because you can take boarding troopers, right?
You take boarding troopers. You could still take the original LTT because it's got Bombard.
You take Jedi hostage. You got really good tools here, but I think that's what's happening. Massive price drop to make it competitive with the carrier. I don't think the carrier needed to drop necessarily. I think the carrier was a great price, but you're just creating more room, more space, more. Try to get a ship, try to get a couple extra upgrades in here. That's what we've gone through all these changes. Not a single buff or a nerf, right? Not a single card has gotten worse in CIS, which is very exciting for the faction.
Yeah, and it's not counting the generics. All right, but drum roll. Our last edition here, Rapid Reinforcements 2.3. We have Django Fett in the Slave 1, and this is a bonkers squadron for 22 points. Bonkers. Listen. While attacking a unique squadron during your activation, you may deal 1 damage to another friendly squadron at distance 1 of the defender. If you do, you may change 1 die to any face. And his anti-squad is 2 reds, a blue, and a black. So that means you can either guarantee an accuracy or change a red to a double. And he has
That's what you're doing. I mean, we know this is good. This is like almost a better Lando, right? Because Lando, at least you're chucking a brace. Here, you're taking 1 damage off a vulture droid.
Yeah.
That you don't really care. And you're gonna do this for 6 turns. That is great.
6 turns, and to boot, he's rogue. Okay, he's rogue. Grit, bomber, double blue die bomber. This thing is an auto include. You got to take Django and Wat Tambor now. You got to take both of them. This guy's crazy good. He's the best fire spray now. He outdoes Hondo.
Yes, he is amazing. You're really got with this update, I think, what the vision was for faction identity, which is squadrons. You know, like this is the squadron faction. With the prices getting cheaper for, Trench can be a squad admiral, Dooku can be a squad admiral, in his own way. But then you have this, our Offlock, which was 18, went down or is now at 18 points.
Now at 18.
Then you have this monster. This is the like Anakin, right? The Anakin in the Aether Sprite for the faction. This is your keystone. This is your Merrick Steel kind of. 90% of squad fleets are going to have this because he's going to be that good.
This is a Deltakin killer.
Yes.
This is a Deltakin killer.
Well, and you think about, in a Grievous fleet, right? It's incredible synergy just to knock off a Tri-Fighter, get, in the middle of your activation, get, a brace back or something like that to kill some Vulture droid off. And that, you want that to happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
oh my gosh, this is big.
I don't know about, like, Rogue. It's going to be interesting. I think he may be activated a lot more than like most rogues are activated.
It's just icing on the cake.
It's just icing on the cake. You're right. CIS doesn't have rogues.
He's only 22 points. You're not even paying the rogue tax.
I mean, you think of a double blue. I mean, this is like Ketsu, right? You think of Ketsu as double blue bomber. She's got a scatter with the terrible ability. You think about others, Hondo, Boba Fett. This is the best one. This is the best double blue bomber I think we've seen. I guess you have Merrick. I'll say that. You do.
Merrick's
have
still better bomber, but I mean, Django's now a bomber. But most of all, Armada's all about. I will say, most successful fleets in Armada have a way to fix dice, and this fixes squadron dice, anti-squad dice. Merrick Steel's cool because he fixed dice versus, ships basically. But this, if you need to kill an ace, here he is. Problem solved.
Well, I think it's really important to recognize that it is just unique squadrons that his ability works on. Just kind of focus on that. So,
I mean, that's fine, right? That's who you want to kill.
That's what you want it for,
yeah.
right? That you and then you just send in your the best other generics in the game, vultures. But this was. CIS, I'm very happy for all everyone who flies CIS because you got a great tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, I think CIS is going to be a real powerhouse at Worlds because unskilled first officers, Nick's list, and the one I flew Chicago gained like 15 or 20 points through this update. So you could take the same list and just basically add Django and maybe lose one Vulture droid.
One thing we should say is that reserve hangar decks, which is a generic, did go up a point.
Yeah, 1 point. Still a bargain.
Still great, but that is part of the tax of CIS and Imperials usually kind of use reserve hangar decks. So it is, but overall, yes, you probably in a lot of your fleets get pretty close to a Gazanti. A free Gazanti, which is great.
This is so good. Man, we really plowed through that. I
think that's great. Let's just leave it there.
Want to leave it
Let's
there?
Just have
all right,
a
that's the end of the CIS episode. All right, perfect.
Yeah, we'll get another one out.
All right.
All right, so this is Command Stack. We're very excited. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Garrett. And we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening. Yeah.